We've been talking about,
Yeah.
actors strike, but the writers are also striking. They're now in the 4th month of their strike. And this week,
So crazy.
the news that was out is that the WGA and the AMPTP finally had a meeting. But that meeting didn't really, result in them setting up a new negotiation. Like it just seemed like they were still very far apart on the same issues they've been far apart on from the beginning. So what is your take on where things stand right now? Because it's now 4 months in. Is there an end in sight?
Yeah, and it's so frustrating too because it sounds by all accounts like, and obviously in this, we have to realize that like the AMPTP, they're there to make money, right? And you have to logistically figure that out. There's a lot of figureheads now in LA, like Karen Bass, the Governor Newsom. I feel like even Biden has made
But like
claims
all of
about
those claims are like political points. They're not doing any actual work to
zero.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting because everybody is trying to like get their he said, she said, like their own spin on what's going on and sort of interject into this massive historical situation. As of right now, what is so hard is that the WGA has made it so obvious and has said that even if we are to settle and reach an agreement, we're going to continue to strike in solidarity with the actors. So now I feel like in a way they have stonewalled themselves.
Yeah.
Because
But can I just mention that's a clause that's already in the Teamsters contract. So it's not unprecedented what they're asking for, but it is something new that wasn't previously, on the
mentioned.
agenda.
Yeah, I feel like that wasn't mentioned previously. But my biggest thing with that is why would the AMPTP fight to finish negotiations for the WGA when SAG still hasn't reached an agreement yet and they're going to strike anyway? You know what I mean? Nobody's going back to work until they're both finalized.
I'm just like,
so now I feel like in a way, the WGA is stonewalled themselves because there's no reason the AMPTP is going to rush over and try to fix it,
right?
Because nobody's going back to work. So it's a really crazy situation, and we all kind of knew it was going to get there. We all knew it was happening. Past few months, since SAG said we're striking, we all knew it's going to be a while, and we're just going to have to sit back and figure it out. AMPTP has put a terrible distaste in my mouth for the businessmen of LA. We always knew they were gross, but now they just seem nefarious. The WGA has made some really large claims about the AMPTP not giving one single crap about the people and really trying to manipulate both parties into like trying to settle for less.
I mean, like,
settle sooner.
Leveraging the latest play in a tired playbook, things like that. And the AMPTP is leaning on the back of the, hey, we just want people to get back to work. It's unfortunate that we are being framed as such. And look, to some degree, I'll give them credit where credit is due in the sense that some of the issues, like for example, there's like 3 or 4 big issues that are the cause of the strike. There's the AI issue, which we've talked about before. It's a very tricky issue. I think with the AI, it's you either have a very comprehensive set of rules that very closely define every aspect of AI as it relates to the industry, and then nothing that is not defined in there is allowed, or you kick the can down the road and say everything AI related is out of the door right now, and then we're not going to touch this issue until the next negotiations.
Until it happens.
So,
and their biggest argument is that they don't know what AI is going to look like, so they can't negotiate on it. Okay, well then protect my rights like I'm asking, and let's talk about it at a later date, but it needs to be handled at that date.
Exactly, but the studio executives are like, it's inevitable. We don't want to wait 2 years to like bring and during the strike,
we don't know what it's going to look like. Well, then how do you expect me to agree to anything if you don't know what it's going to look like? So it just really feels, again, like we talked about it last week. It feels like a lot of he said, she said. People keep kicking the can to the other side of the picket line, like it's your fault, it's your fault. At the bottom line, like it's affecting everyone, but everyone's standing in solidarity, and I really, God, the AMPTP, like, they are the villains here, in my personal opinion, and I need them to just get their shit together and stop being so greedy.
Yeah,
That's
I
where
mean,
we are.
the one thing I will say on the AMPTP side though is what the AI thing. I think AMPTP. Well, they have a couple. Both sides have some valid points. With AI, for
Yeah.
example, I understand that it's kind of. I mean, the companies like Netflix, they're hiring people for AI jobs that are six-figure jobs while the strike's happening. I mean, it's like this is something where
But we don't
it's
know what that's going to look
unavoidable.
like.
How
Like,
it's one of those things though where like the phrase with great power comes great responsibility comes to mind, and it seems like the AMPTP aren't exactly willing to take on that responsibility that comes with the power of wielding AI in creative
yeah.
works. So that's somewhere that where I think definitely they have to either bite the bullet and make a very well-defined set of structures in the contract for how AI is going to be treated moving forward, or
Yeah.
they'll have to just say nothing. And I just think there's at this point no in between those. The other
And
things,
it's, yeah.
the other things that are writer specific, because the actors have
Mhm.
other sets of demands, but like the
Yeah.
news this week was pertaining more to the writers, where they've been
Yes.
asking for um, the how much time, like having more guaranteed time on
So
shows.
yeah, they want a minimum of a minimum
Yeah,
hiring guarantee, because currently when you get hired onto a job as a writer and as an actor, you sometimes only get booked for that day, and sometimes a week, sometimes a month, sometimes 6 months. So there is no job security, and you have no idea how long you're going to be there. And because it is on that sort of like day to day basis, or a week to week basis, or an episode basis, you literally have no job security. You have no idea how much money you're going to be making. You have no idea if you're going to be out of a job tomorrow. And obviously, when you get a job, there's an expectation that you have that job. Obviously, there's a trial period, right? It's generally like a typically like 3 to 6 month trial period in which like you and your employer can figure it out. That doesn't exist here. You show up, you get paid. If if it doesn't work, you get fired like that day in a text sometimes. Don't come back to work tomorrow. So I can definitely see that as being like a necessary job. As an actor, I don't know. Like I kind of you get hired on for a production, and I guess you could be fired, but like the likelihood of that is less
yeah. Well, I mean,
likely.
especially if they've
And
invested in you, if they've shot stuff with you,
yeah,
and now they have to redo all of that. Yeah.
and exactly. Whereas you could show up as a writer and they're just like, we really didn't like that pitch, you're fired. And I have also heard that the writers' environment, and I've heard from two really good friends who have been writers on multiple shows that you guys watch every day. Each of them has complained to me about how toxic their work environment is and how every day feels like a mental health crisis because of it, which is insane to me because they're both very logical, very incredible, very intelligent people. One is a stand-up comic. She's hilarious. She has told me on two different productions every day, it's not worth it for the money that I am making. It's not worth it for the things that they say to me. It's not worth it for what I'm doing. It is such a toxic work environment. I don't know how long I'm going to have a job. And that level of stress really does add up and mounts to a level that's almost like unbearable to a certain extent for a lot of people. So I think that's just where the writers are at right now.
It's part of it is the fact that they're understaffed and overworked,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things. They're like, the more episodes you have on an episode order, the more writers you should have on the team. Sometimes what happens is you have writers rooms where there's very few writers working on a large amount of episodes, or you get an
Yeah.
extra order of episodes and all of a sudden they're like, well, just do the
And the
work.
showrunner gets
Yeah,
paid a lot, and then the rest of
yeah,
people on
but
writers on
like
it get paid
the
nothing.
other thing is
Like,
the reason why some of this doesn't jive well with the MBTP is because if they guarantee these minimums for every show, then there are shows like what Taylor Sheridan shows, some of what he does. He may write every episode of the entire season. And so if you have an 8 episode minimum of like a certain amount of writers on that staff that the collective bargaining agreement asks for, but Taylor Sheridan's writing every episode, then the studio now is obligated to pay a certain number of writers to basically not do a lot of work, which either you ask Taylor Sheridan and say, hey, you got to now work with these people because it's required by the WGA, or you don't agree. So I think there are, like, certainly from the AMPTP side, certain reasons why, but that's also where
But also, I didn't read that the way that you read it. I think I would say I read it in a way that if a writer gets signed on to a show, they're required to be on that show for a set amount of
those
time.
two things. So there's one of those things is the number of writers, and then the other thing is, like, once they get hired, they have to be on for a certain amount of time.
So it wouldn't require them to hire. Yeah, it wouldn't require every production to hire 8 people for however long.
Well, it will be graded based on the amount of episodes the show has.
Okay.
Right.
Which makes sense too. So I don't know, like, obviously if Taylor Sheridan's writing every episode, maybe they don't.
Exactly. And then so the issue there, but you can kind of see how, like, if they were to make that a rule, they will probably need to put in some exceptions to the rule for certain very specific circumstances, and have them not become loopholes that can be exploited, exactly. There's a lot of tricky things. The other big thing that I think we were talking about even before the show is viewership-based residuals, which quite simply don't work well for today's streaming world the same way that they did for traditional linear broadcast and cable television, where you have advertising revenue coming in, so therefore you can pay out residuals based on ad revenue. You have TV ratings that you can base on your viewership data on. Nowadays, with your streaming account, they can measure up to the minute how much, or up to the second, how much you're watching, exactly what you're watching, what time of day you're watching, what genres you like to watch. So they have more data than ever. It's not it's about transparency.
But you know what? And it does. We were talking about it earlier. It doesn't make sense to take the same residual sort of parameters that we had with cable and network TV, because they get paid through ad usage in this and that and the other. With Netflix or for Paramount, every person, no matter how much or how little they watch, is paying the same flat fee.
Exactly, like $20 for Netflix, $12 for Paramount, Hulu.
So I have weeks where I watch absolutely nothing, and then I have weeks where I binge all of Firefly Lane and The Witcher and this and that. You know what I mean? Like, there are weeks that my viewership varies so much, and there are people that pay for Netflix subscription and use it once a month. Like, there's just no way in order to properly turn the residual,
like sort of the old legacy structure.
It doesn't work. So it was a really good point that you had, but it's like, if the residuals don't work, if we can't agree to a residual sort of standard when it comes to viewership based off of this factual information, there needs to be more payment up front, like a bigger buyout, which is in order to make up for it.
And that's totally fair. And whether it's for the writers or the actors, I think that's a fair thing to ask for. But if I were to play devil's advocate with it, the AMTP might come back and say, well, then we are taking all the risk and you get the reward regardless of whether the show is successful or not. Like,
and it's
you know what I mean? Like
that,
so you have to build in the budgets will go higher, because you have to, no matter what happens, you have to start out with a higher floor to whatever budget you put together for a show. Because even if you cancel after one season, you're spending a certain amount of guaranteed money on it no matter what, right? Which I think there's probably, like, I'm sure there's people out there who can run the numbers and find a way to make this work. It's not impossible, because at that point, if you can agree on the fact that this has to be upfront rather than a residual based system, or if the residuals do continue to exist, they exist for like broadcast and linear TV, but for streaming, it's a different, like, that streaming could have its own structure. If they can agree on that, then I think it's all a numbers game. And there's plenty of people, very capable people involved in these negotiations who can run the numbers and make things work. At that point, it's just a matter of tweaking it until both sides have, a fair deal in place. But
honestly, I would really like to know what all of you guys think. Like, what do you think would fix this situation? It's so complex. Like, what system would work if the old residual system doesn't work? So definitely, like, let us know what you guys are thinking, where you sit, if you're involved at all in the entertainment industry, no matter where you are in the country. I talk about LA a lot, but this is affecting the whole country. It's affecting massive, huge entertainment economies across the country. It quite literally will affect the overall economy to a huge extent. So I want to know what everyone is thinking. Like, let us know what are your ideas about how this is going to go. It's hard to know because it's like, it's such a complex situation. How do you fix it? Like, how?
Right.
So
yeah, it's difficult. Well, let us know in the comments below. Hit the like button, if you like this, and subscribe for more. We will keep talking about this in the weeks and months to come.